What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thank you for tapping in. Today, we're going to talk about Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin and get my first reaction. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We do appreciate your feedback. So, Anthony Joshua and Jermaine Franklin had a fight over the weekend. It was a midday Saturday fight on DAZN, and the card was okay, but you definitely just had that feeling of let's hurry up and get to the main event. In the main event, it was an interesting fight. So let's get into the details of that. So if everybody's not aware, Anthony Joshua was coming to this fight with his third different trainer in as many fights. The problem with that is it's like anything. Think about it like if you're doing football or basketball and you keep changing coaches and every coach has their own system or scheme. There may be some struggles, right? You're going to have some concerns about trying to execute the game plan because you have to, number one, get comfortable with their style of coaching, and then number two, actually get comfortable with the plan itself. So I thought that was part of the primary issue I found with Anthony Joshua is he's often not confident in the game plan, and later in fights, he reverts to bad habits because he's not sure that the plan is going to work. And because Derrick James is a very technical person, I can see where while stylistically his coaching and conveying of what he wants would have worked really well, the way that AJ might execute these things could have been a problem, and it turns out it was. So early on in the fight, you saw a little bit of a tentative AJ. He looked patient, but you could see that he was a little bit unsure of some of his movements. His jab looked a little tentative, and then his footwork, he was doing kind of some lateral movement, and I think he was trying to figure out how Franklin would respond to him moving right or left. The problem is he didn't bring any offensive firepower behind it. So he'd step back, he'd move right, move left. And then he'd reset, come back in range, throw a jab, step back, move right, move left. So this was kind of a pattern he was setting, and Franklin wasn't very responsive. He actually showed a lot of patience himself. And I think that started to frustrate AJ just a little bit because there was no reaction. And he didn't understand that these moves were part of a bigger picture to set up something else later. He did have good energy. There wasn't fatigue, but you could see that he just wasn't comfortable trying to do what Derrick James would ask him. And you could see where when they would go to the corner, and it was a little bit hard to pick up the audio. They didn't do as good of a job as Showtime and ESPN do of getting those trainer tracks in the corner. And Derrick James has a little bit of a muffled tone, so you really have to zoom in to hear what he's saying. But the little bit you could pick up and what you could see visually was that he was telling him use the footwork in his hands cooperatively in order to get some things to happen. And there were spells where you could see AJ felt good about what was going on, and he would kind of use some footwork and then followed up with some offensive firepower, and it would be a little bit of success, but it'd be short-lived. About halfway through the fight, you saw that maybe because of that frustration of things not going exactly according to plan and him not being 100% comfortable with the plan, he reverted to some old things. He just let his hands go. To be honest, in this particular fight, that kind of worked in his favor because he did something he was comfortable with, so he was confident that if I land this shot, it's going to make Franklin reset or stop. Now, for his part, Jermaine Franklin showed a lot of determination. He showed a hell of a chin. He ate some heavy shots. He took his opportunities and hit AJ with some good, clean shots. I mean, he was a game opponent. And I don't think anybody believed he wasn't going to come in and put up a great effort. But the fact that he went 12 with AJ is very commendable because this is a big puncher, and he did get hit flush a few times. Now, back to Joshua. I thought down the stretch of the fight, he kind of went back and forth between trying to do what the fundamentals that he had been working on in the 8-week camp with Derrick James were, but also what he was comfortable executing without a lot of coaching. But in the corner, you saw Derrick James, and he was very demonstrative. He's showing them combinations, and he's talking in that tone, but I think it was a tone that AJ could understand. It looked like AJ was trying to lock in, but again, like I mentioned before the fight, he has struggled with when plan A doesn't work, he doesn't seem to have a plan B that makes him feel comfortable. And in 8 weeks, you're not going to learn, okay, let's do plan A. Plan A ain't working, let's go to B. If you know anything about Derrick James, you've seen him with Errol Spence, you've seen him with Frank Martin, you've seen him with Jamel Charlo. he's always giving them the next step. He said, okay, we did that. All right, now he's doing this. This is what I want you to do. We talked about this. I felt like he couldn't get to that point with AJ because they were still stuck on step one. And when they eventually were able to move on to step two, it was later in the fight, and it was pretty much a foregone conclusion. So I thought that while it was an ugly execution of the plan, if he sticks with Derrick James because he's comfortable with the delivery system of the information and he trusts that if I could get better at these skills that he's working with me on, the next step's going to make me look even better in the ring. I think we can see enough improvement for people for it's going to warrant a fight with Deontay Wilder because you're going to feel like AJ's not just going to go in there and get knocked out. I don't know that it's going to build the excitement for a Tyson Fury fight. And if I had to talk about what happens next for AJ, I'm a little conflicted at the moment, and I'll share this part and then I'll close. I don't know which one of them I would want him to fight first if he has both of them on his hit list, because if you fight Wilder first and get knocked out, I don't think there's a Fury fight. On the other hand, if you go in there with Fury and maybe he beats you up for 12 rounds and you survive, you could still get some money on the table because the fight with Wilder is it's a fantasy fan fight, a fan fantasy fight. So I believe that might be the particular order that you need to go in. Go ahead and give Fury, get the big cash out, and then for a lesser amount, you give the fans what they want and fight Wilder. But I don't know if he could win either one of those fights right now because I feel like there's some building blocks that have been set into place. And if he could stay with Derrick James for maybe 2 more fights, I think he'll be pretty competitive in the Fury fight, even in a loss. So we'd love to get you guys' thoughts. This has been T-Word for the Mic Check Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next time I'm out. Peace.